talking about trades, and obviously this off season we've seen so many quarterbacks out there, and one of which who is garnering a lot of trade interest is Derek Carr at the moment. It's sort of the rumor mill. It's the early stages. It's the mutterings that go on behind the scenes. You know, if you're Gruden, if you're Mayock, you're looking at Derek Carr, you're seeing who's out there, who's in the draft, and you're thinking, surely we can upgrade. And you know, if you're a team who's probably at the sort of Ram stage, or that elk of team, maybe you're thinking, you know what, if he was on a better team with better play around him, better coaching, maybe he would be the quarterback that they're missing. So it's a real interesting one. We will touch on Derek Carr later. But whilst we're on trades, you know, the big one which has gone through, which has happened, Matt Stafford for Jared Goff, a whole bunch of picks in there as well. The Lions and the Rams, and we'll kind of quickfire ask you guys who you think won that trade. You know, it's always difficult to judge, but you know, from the team perspective, and then we'll talk about the players. So Henry, quickfire, who do you think won? You can say either, you can say neither, or you can say both.
I'm actually going to say the Lions. My head says the Lions. I do quite like the trade for both teams, but if I had to pick a winner long term, if we're going quick fire, Lions.
Yep. Connor, what about for you?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's the Lions as well.
Yeah.
I'm keeping that quick fire. Unless you want any other comments.
No, that's perfect. We will touch on it later, and you know, I'll lead us in there. I mean, for me on paper, it does look like Lions too. You know, really, the quarterbacks don't really compare too much. There's not too much difference in my opinion, really. You know, I'm a massive Jared Goff hater. I will fully admit that. I don't respect the guy. I don't think he's worth anywhere near the money he's paid. But equally, if we're talking about quarterbacks, you know, Matt Stafford, whilst he's serviceable, and he is still a top half quarterback in the league, no doubt about that. But does he make your team that much better? I don't think he does. You know, I think if you're the Rams and, you know, you've got the rest of that team around it, who willed a team who had John Wolford and Jared Goff at quarterback to the divisional round of playoffs, and lost to the Chiefs, you know, in reality, you're probably sat there thinking that upgrade between Goff and Stafford could put us into Super Bowl contention again. So I understand the decision behind it, but as an organization, 2 first-round picks, it just feels like so much to give up for the guy that isn't the guy. And there were other people available, right, Henry? That's what factors into it the most for me. Is that your thoughts as well?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Josh, and probably one that people aren't considering as much as they could. Definitely, there's plenty of other quarterbacks available. I really do think this boils down to McVay and the Rams and what they think they can achieve. And we're talking a bit about rumors, but there's plenty of rumors that Goff and McVay actually didn't get on that well. And that McVay was getting a bit fed up of sort of the hand-holding process. Apparently he was in the headset, you know, right up until the headset gets cut off before the snap, you know, telling him the protections, the coverages, all of that kind of stuff, and didn't feel like Goff was elevating the level of the people around him, simply being an extension of the coach and nothing more. And I think he thought, I need more. And you see a guy like Stafford, and he does do more than that. There's no doubt. Now there comes with other stuff with that, but he certainly does, you know, create plays out of structure. He's got a much stronger arm. There's lots of other things that Stafford can do that Goff cannot. Really, I think the Rams here are betting that for 2 years, Matt Stafford will be a top 10 quarterback in their system. And if he's not, this is going to hurt them for a long time. If he is, they've got a good chance of going to a Super Bowl. If Stafford's a top 10 quarterback the next 2 years, so his contract is 2 years, 43 million. Not outrageous. If you're a top 10 quarterback, that's a good deal. That's a pretty good deal. This is one I'd like to throw back to you, Josh. There's been a lot of stuff, a lot of articles written about whether Goff and his contract was actually a bonus in the trade, or if the Rams traded or the Lions took Goff and if essentially they got more for taking Goff. So was it a salary dump that you would see in the NBA? So perhaps if they didn't trade Goff, they wouldn't have got as much in terms of picks back. What do you think? Do you think Goff and his contract is a positive, or do you think because Goff's contract was so expensive, more per year than Stafford's, that they actually used it as a salary dump?
Yeah, I think it's, I'm so pleased you used the analogy and likened it to the NBA, because I think this offseason, more than any other, we've seen the NFL start to reach the trade levels of the NBA. Obviously, they massively trade around, and predominantly, you're right, it is to dump and offload contracts. That's why we floated it out. If the Falcons were to trade for Watson, if they got rid of Matt Ryan, is that a benefactor for them? And of course it is. The Rams, it factors into their mindset. There's no way they would have traded for Stafford without Goff going in the other direction. Probably what that means, in my opinion, is his value is naught. He's not considered from either side. I don't think the Lions see it as a particular concern. They're not going to get a quarterback who is going to be on a deal which is really going to matter based on what Jared Goff's being paid. Yeah, they pay slightly more, but you've got a veteran, someone who can lead a little bit. You've got a good quality backup if you need one. I think the picks equal Matt Stafford, and I think Jared Goff is to go in the other way. Not to change the terms of a deal, but just to give them the financial flexibility to have Matt Stafford in the first place. That's my feelings. Yeah, and just to kind of follow on from that and one step further, Connor, you were the person who I asked a question to about Matt Ryan, and whether it works that way. Do you feel the same as me? Do you think that the Lions got a benefit in receiving Goff, or actually lost a little bit of value there?
I mean, I think Goff gives them the flexibility going into the future, because they've now got those 2 first-round picks as well, which obviously Henry has said kind of gives you, like, for on the side of the Rams, it gives them that, right, we're focusing on Stafford, this is going to be our guy. But the other way around for the Lions is that the Goff pick doesn't tie them down at all. Like, they could, if it doesn't work, or if they don't like what they see straight away, can we then take someone else? Can we move this team around? Can Goff go back to being on the bench? And I think that's where for them it works so much better, is that they have this freedom that comes with that trade.
I think that's a great point, Connor. Yeah, really good point. And I think there's been a lot written already about, well, this rules the Lions out of taking a quarterback in round 1. Remember, they've got a really high pick this year. They could take Justin Fields this year. And like you said, Connor, the perfect word is freedom. They can do whatever they want. They've got, a high pick this year, top 5 pick, isn't it? Top 5 pick this year. And then next year, 2 first rounders, the year after 2 first rounders. You can do a hell of a lot with that. I also think, sorry, Connor, go on.
I was going to say, like, it could all like, we'll see how it pans out in the next few weeks, but it could be really interesting to see what sort of level of competition they'll do straight away. Is it right? Like, how will we, like, almost like play around with their, like, with how they are, and what their level of competitiveness is. But do you just bring another quarterback in straight away and put Goff to the test and say to him, like, right, we've traded for you, we want you, we've got these 2 first-round picks, but now, we've got someone else to take your spot. Like, both of you now need to play better. You as a rookie needs to play better coming into this team, and you as a supposed to be established quarterback needs to prove that you're worth your space. And if not, well, we've got someone just as good. So it could bring that level of competition straight into it, and make Goff kind of aware that it's not going to be an easy ride moving forward, that he could. But we'll see how that pans out. It might not be that they do that this season. But that could be one factor that kind of comes in.
Yeah. And just to clarify, the Lions have picked number 7 this year, but obviously with the Arsenal picks they received, they could easily trade up. We already talked about it on our QB draft looks, and I'm sure we'll talk about it going into the draft as well a bit more. But there are easily 4 quarterbacks in this draft that you could feel comfortable with taking within the top 10 spots. I would even argue, in my opinion, Mac Jones is there too. I know I'm particularly high on the guy, and I think he brings a really high floor, which usually is a concern for quarterbacks, because that commonly comes with a low ceiling, and Jared Goff was a high floor, low ceiling quarterback, and we saw how that panned out. But yeah, you're exactly right, both of you. There's so much flexibility there. You've got something guaranteed in Goff. Maybe you elevate him by bringing in something. And equally, there are some quarterbacks set to hit free agent market that don't look too bad options either. You got your Jameis Winstons, and of those kind of players, Marcus Mariota is going to hit the market again. So yeah, you could easily have a camp battle whether you draft a quarterback or not. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to watch, see how that pans out. I saw an article which basically predicted that Pete Carroll would outlast Sean McVay. Very much this feels like a do or die type moment for the Rams. I don't think Sean McVay would be out of the NFL. We talked about it. In my opinion, he is top three coaches in the NFL already. But he is handcuffing himself to this Matt Stafford trade a little bit, isn't he, Henry?
I think so. I think certainly in the short term. I mean, I think what the Rams have made clear over the last few years is they've been all in for about 7 years. They either they don't value first round picks the same way as the rest of the NFL, or they just think that they have the core team to win. Maybe when you have players like Aaron Donald and such, you do feel that way. I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a big 2 years for McVay. It is a big 2 years. That's undoubted. And I think they don't have the freedom. They don't have the freedom to go another direction at quarterback for the next 2 years. They have to have this. And one thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is the situation for Matt Stafford in terms of the surrounding cast and play callers and all of that. How much better does it get? So he hasn't been a top 10 quarterback for quite a few years now. I think he was graded 13th last year, so pretty good. But in reality, you're going from sort of Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, TJ Hawkinson, played well this year, Danny Amendola, Pro Bowl center Frank Ragnow, to the Rams, who do have some nice pieces like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, but their left tackle is, I think, 39, 40 years old. Do they have a third receiver? Not really. The offensive line's not played as well in recent years, and the defense is probably not going to be as good as it was last year. This year past gone, they were outstanding, and it's tough to stay that good on defense. So the one thing that Josh will I'm sure come to is the coach, right? The coach makes a big deal. So how much do you think that'll help, Josh? Do you think that'll change it a lot? Because you look at what the Lions have had, Stafford has not had a lot of help from a coaching perspective.
Yeah, and that's probably part of the reason why it came out that Matt Stafford said, "I will go anywhere except for New England because Matt Patricia's there," basically, without saying it. And yeah, Sean McVay elevates it, but what we don't know is what that Rams offense looks when they feel like they've got a competent quarterback. I think if you were going to look at Sean McVay and what he brings to a team, what he immediately upskills, that is your West Coast passing, your wide receiver screens, your immediate quick passing plays, and he elevates the quarterback as a result of that because he mitigates their losses. When he's got Stafford, it's a completely different beast. You don't play that game with Stafford. You don't spend all that money, all that draft capital to get a deep threat quarterback like that, and then just chuck it short to Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods. So it will be interesting. You make a really good point about Andrew Whitworth. 39 years old. I'm confident that's how old he is. It feels like he's even older. Tom Brady probably looks at him and thinks he's too old for the game. But the thing for me is I don't actually think Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods are that good. I think they are good. A big Robert Woods fan, definitely a big fan. Cooper Kupp, so. I think he makes weird catches. There's something about him which doesn't grasp me, but I would take Marvin Jones over either of them any day, to be completely honest. Kenny Golladay makes contested catches. That's what he's gone from, those big receivers who make those tight window plays in the red zone as well. And I just don't feel like he's got that in LA. So yeah, it's going to be a massive change to the Rams scheme, and maybe that's for the better, maybe that's for the worse, who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree completely. I think for the Lions as well, I think Kenny Golladay's a free agent, Marvin Jones is a free agent, Danny Amendola is a free agent. If they let them go, it's clear what's happening. They're out this year. They're going to be back in the top 10 and have high picks again. So I've got one question to ask you two to finish this little debate. Obviously, if you two want to come in at the end, let me know. But will McVay and Stafford make a Super Bowl? What do you think, Connor?
It's really like
it's a tough question.
Because I completely agree with what Josh was just saying. Like, what is that Rams offense now with someone who can throw it deeper? Like, we've seen it so much. Like, I can only agree with Josh. I'm not going to go into it too much more. But like, we've only seen those small throws. We've only seen those, like, we haven't seen the true capabilities of what we see with other teams. And now with McVay, and obviously we all rate him quite highly as well, is yeah, how can they adapt that team to be a threat in the air and a threat running? So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. I've got a soft spot for the Rams, and I would really love to see them make it to a Super Bowl, and hopefully this is the kind of change that can make that happen. So I'm going to go with yes for it.
Okay.
Interesting. I'm on a similar page with Connor. Obviously, he's echoed me. I'm echoing him back. But my heart definitely wants to say yes. Like, desperately wants to say yes. And I'm a Seahawks fan. Like, that goes against everything which I believe in. But my head just says no in every regards. I don't see that as a top connection. This season, maybe it's the exception to the rule, but it feels like we're now seeing the true value of the top level quarterbacks, the top level coaches, and they need to be together to make it work. And the last 4 teams left in were easily the best 4 quarterback coach combos in the NFL, and that's primarily led by the quarterback. And Matt Stafford couldn't even get his Detroit Lions across the finishing line this year. Like, okay, yeah, Sean McVay is definitely better than Patricia, but to what extent does that equal a Super Bowl? I don't think it does, personally. But yeah, I would love to be proven wrong. I would love to be, but I don't think they will be, Henry.
Okay, good to hear. I think there's gonna be a little window, maybe where Brady retires, if that ever happens. Maybe where Rodgers leaves the Packers, Breeze is retired. The NFC's definitely could be there for the taking in 2 or 3 years. I'm gonna say no as well, I think. But yeah, I would quite like to see it. And that NFC NFC division now is, NFC West is absolutely stacked, isn't it? Wilson, Stafford, Kyler, and then 49ers to be confirmed. Let's see what comes there.
Probably Kirk Cousins, right?
Yeah, maybe Kirk Cousins.
To defend the yes as well, I just think there's so much to it that has had the Rams so nearly there. Like, we've been so excited about the Rams for so long. Like, what is that missing piece? And was it Goff? Like,
yeah,
I think it's like I'm taking the glass. The glass
I definitely think there's a path where they make it. I definitely think there's a range of outcomes where Stafford is excellent. I really like Matt Stafford. I really do. So let's see.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point, Connor. I know we've now spoken about this trade for so long, but good, because it will be separated as well. But the only thing which stops me from saying it is the Rams feel like they've stumbled into a Super Bowl. They've stumbled into the divisional round. It didn't feel like they made it in the right way to translate to future success. That's the thing which I look at. But yeah, you're exactly right, Henry. It could all change. Suddenly, everything could look rejuvenated. The running game looked amazing this season. So yeah, well, it's nice to have storylines. It's nice to have potential. So maybe the Rams do make it to a Super Bowl.